Howdy, Pastor Mark Driscoll here. This week's question is from a young guy who wants to marry a young gal. I myself, he says, I'm in a relationship with a girl. We're both serving at church, known each other for a few years, started developing feelings for her. We both prayed and fasted about it and decided to date. Let me give you 2 thumbs up, kids. You're praying, fasting, serving in church, walking in God's will, and looking ultimately toward marriage, not just dating, relating, and fornicating, as is often happening. Goes on to say he's 21, she's 19. He wants to spend his whole life with her. She wants to spend her whole life with him. Question is, drum roll please, are we too young to get married? Yeah, maybe, maybe not. I believe in tools, not rules. Let me just give you a little bit of advice, and you can see how your life stacks up accordingly. Number one, preparation for marriage is becoming an adult who is responsible. When it says that a man should leave his father and mother, that means he is responsible for himself. Parents aren't paying his bills. Parents aren't looking after him. He's in the process of launching into full adult responsibility. It says, then he can take a wife, consummate their covenant, the two become one flesh. That's God's process in Genesis through Moses. Paul echoes, Jesus repeats that same process. The man leave his mother and father, take care of his own responsibility and maturity, and then pick a gal, marry her, and consummate the covenant, and seek to live happily ever after in the grace of God. That being said, I would ask you, are you ready, the two of you, to emotionally commit to this, financially, practically? Some of this is emotional. Are you emotionally mature? Some of it is mental. Are you mentally ready? Some of this is spiritual. Sounds like you're spiritually mature. A lot of this, quite frankly, just practical. I believe in Jesus and meals. I believe Jesus and housing. It's good to believe in Jesus, but at some point you're going to need to have some food to eat and you're going to have a place to live. So it's a lot of that practical stuff in addition to the spiritual stuff. Are you ready to take on those kinds of responsibilities? And it doesn't mean that your lifestyle needs to be lavish. One of the mistakes that young couples make, they try and assume that their lifestyle will just continue. Well, the lifestyle that you enjoyed with your parents was here, but it took them years to build to that point. When you get married, you're going to start down here and probably build up. So give you an example, maybe it's an encouragement. I met my wife Grace at 17, loved her with all my heart. She is still my favorite person on planet Earth. I adore her. At age 19, I became a Christian. She came back into a relationship with Christ. We knew we wanted to be married, so we got married at age 21 while still in college, and we were brokety broke. There's broke, college broke, and married, college broke. We were married, college broke. I can still remember our date night was going to a third run movie theater that was 99 cents, and we had to save up to do it. We heated our little apartment with wood because we couldn't afford the normal electricity. I mean, we were brokety broke, but we were in college. We loved each other. We were together. We had a roof over our head. We had a meal in our stomach, and God was gracious, and we made it through. If you're able or ready practically to take that next step, it's not necessarily a bad thing. What I would encourage you, number 2, seek wise counsel. Proverbs talks a lot about bringing in wise counsel. Wise counsel could be a pastor, counselor. If you have godly parents, absolutely you want to seek their advice and have them in the process. But in addition, it may be some couples in your church, older, godly, married, wise. You look at their family and you think, boy, there's a horizon to run toward. Meet with those folks, invite them into the process and ask them, what do you think? Are we ready? What do we need to learn, grow, change, do to get wisdom into the process? And I will give you number 3, a benefit of getting married early. It doesn't mean that everybody has to get married early, but this has been the case for my wife, Grace, and I. I mean, met at 17, saved at 19, married at 21. We're going to be 50 this year. I'm knocking on the door, the big 50. And it was kind of nice and beneficial for us, quite frankly, to grow up together. I married her at 21. I didn't have a lot of independence or single years. I went from high school, a couple years of college, married. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. We got to grow up together and do life together, and 2 becoming 1 is a lot easier when you've not been one for an extended period of time. It's good if the 2 of you can come together quickly and get as many years and work toward that oneness early, if at all possible. If the 2 of you are living 2 lives for too long, it's hard to become one. It's not impossible, but it is more complicated. And then number 4, I would just encourage you, whatever you do, and I believe your heart is totally right in this. Don't do what the culture does. It just doesn't work. The average man today marries around age 30. The average gal is in her late 20s. They spend their teens and 20s dating, relating, fornicating, breaking commandments, being naughty. And I'll just tell you that the way that the world is doing it, it may make more economic sense. Let's just work and save up money. But spiritually, emotionally, relationally, it's just bankrupt. Your odds of divorce are higher if you cohabitate before marriage. Your odds of divorce are higher if you have sexual activity before marriage. If that is the story for you or anyone that's seeing this, that was my story. I was sexually active. I met Jesus. I stopped being sexually active, and then I got married, and I've been faithful to my wife for the totality of our relationship by the grace of God. That being said, if you can do it God's way is always the best way. And it sounds like for you kids, you're probably going to get married younger than the national trends because you're not wanting to sleep together. You're not wanting to move in together. And all of this heartbreak, I mean, the average person before they get married, they've lived with multiple people, they've slept with multiple people, and there's a lot of heartache and heartbreak that comes into the relationship, baggage and carry-ons. God can forgive and heal that, but why go through it? I mean, you can get in a head-on collision, go through surgery and physical therapy and be okay, or you could just avoid the head-on collision, which is not necessarily a bad plan. And this is my encouragement to my kids. You're asking me, and I'm really tired today, so if I slur my speech, it's for this reason. My little girl, my oldest daughter, got married last Friday. And she was 22, he was 23. They both had graduated, debt-free. They put themselves in a good position to take on the responsibility of housing and life. And right now, my little girl is on her honeymoon. But they were married young, but they did it God's way. And what I see in their relationship is that God blessed and honored their integrity. He was generous to them in some supernatural ways because they were seeking to obey Him and to do what was right in His sight. And I'm a father. I believe God is a father. He's got a father's heart. And the father's heart is, man, if my kids are trying to do the right thing, I want to help them. And I believe that's the heart of God. Sounds like you kids have a great heart. I'll be praying for you. Seek that wise counsel. See if you're ready to step into that next life stage and phase of responsibility. And if so, like Paul tells Timothy, don't let anybody look down on you because you're young, but set an example. So it's not just about how old you are, how mature you are, how responsible you are, and how ready you are for the covenant of marriage. That being said, maybe you've got a question, send it in to hello@markdriscoll.org, and maybe I'll answer it next. Thanks a bunch.